Welcome to Gadget Surfer TV. For today's video, we will be talking about SpaceX and how they plan to land on Mars. Are you ready? Let's get started. Elon Musk is certainly one of the world's polarizing figures. With his high ambitions on space travel and colonization, as well as his Twitter exploits on cryptocurrency, it's hard to find someone more popular than Musk. The SpaceX CEO has been very vocal on his plans for the company and the world. Earlier this past month, a rocket prototype built by SpaceX successfully landed on Mars. It was the fifth try and proved to be successful. The last 4 attempts ended up in big explosions, so when it was finally successful, Elon Musk tweeted, "Starship landing nominal." After taking off at 5:25 p.m. from the starbase in southern Texas, the rocket reached an altitude of 6 miles and was able to perform a number of maneuvers, including a belly flop. This is a huge victory for Musk and company, as this has serious implications to the long-term goal of Elon Musk. The goal has astronomical significance, not just for the space race between Musk, Bezos, and other moguls and companies, but for the whole world. Elon Musk and SpaceX believe that Mars will be a viable option to live in, having built a city for mankind to settle when the time comes that we'll need to leave Earth. He intends to use the planet to observe the cosmos in the solar system, as well as building a city on Mars in which humanity can settle down in. Looks good on paper and even better when heard, but of course, it's easier said than done. This kind of project and goal takes years to develop, but that's exactly what SpaceX has been doing so far. They have launched prototype rockets to Mars in the past, but all ended up in oblivion. But with this success of this recent landing, it gives us a picture of what SpaceX and mankind can expect in the future. Elon Musk has been on record saying that their goal is to land humans on Mars by the year 2026. With the recent success of the rocket landing, he remains highly confident that it's an achievable goal. In fact, with luck on their side, he even thinks that it's possible to do it by 2024. They've been working together with NASA on missions to the International Space Station, even if it's been well documented the different ideas they have for a crew to head to Mars. Elon Musk believes in the development of SpaceX's Starship rocket, a stainless steel vehicle that is fully reusable and more comparable to a commercial plane than a rocket. The Starship's goal is to launch cargo and 100 people at a time, with a shorter turnaround times between flights similar to airplanes. It has taken a while to get things moving, as the first prototype was unveiled back in September 2019, less than 2 years ago. Fast forward to today, and a successful prototype launch, we could very well see SpaceX flying people this year. Since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011, NASA has lost a lot of capability, and to a certain extent, credibility on spaceflight. But ever since SpaceX's Demo 2 launch of NASA astronauts back in 2020, it marked the return of US spaceflight in a way that no one expected. It brings us back to a time where the space race between the US and the Soviet Union was at its height, propelling mankind to greater heights and glory. The Apollo program ended in 1972, which marked the final time that humans traveled beyond Earth orbit. There have been countless attempts to revive the space program. The Bush administration had their ambitions with the Back to the Moon Constellation program, which was eventually canceled by the Obama administration. Instead, they retained some components of the program and became the Space Launch System. The goal was to send astronauts to lunar orbit aboard the Orion, where they will rendezvous with a previously placed lunar lander to travel to and back. NASA then decided to outsource the building of the lunar landers to other space companies instead of building their own. After a conflict with Congress on the approved budget for lunar landers, they decided to delay the decision on which company would be handed the contract. But we all know now that the decision has been made, and SpaceX has been deemed the chosen one. SpaceX's Starship is designed to carry cargo and 100 people at a pace and rate akin to commercial flights, not the usual space flight. Starship will be able to land humans on Mars and on the Moon, which is very attractive to NASA. However, NASA has some different plans for its initial use. Starship will launch with a crew to lunar orbit, and NASA astronauts will board Orion and SLS, with the intent to dock with the Starship or transfer to it via the gateway and stay there for a week. After a week, they launch back to lunar orbit, where they will head back to Orion and head home safely to Earth. Even if SpaceX believes in the Starship's capabilities, NASA seems to want to take it slow with all the baby steps. SpaceX shouldn't worry. as what NASA is initially planning is much easier than their big picture view, a Mars landing. SpaceX needs NASA's contract to further pump resources into the program. No matter how rich Elon Musk is, you can never have too much money in a project with a scope of this scale. SpaceX still needs to make sure that the Starship will be able to carry the payload expected of the journey. Looking back at history, Apollo 11, which was launched by the Saturn V, weighed just around 3,000 tons. Starship will need a lot more for its cargo and the weight of over 100 people. They also need to take into account the fuel needed. Thankfully, the Starship vehicle will have the luxury of having a separately launched fuel tanker in order for them to refuel. Without NASA's support, it would greatly delay plans for the Starship. In order to send a crewless spacecraft to Mars, they will use gravity assist maneuvers. The spacecraft will swerve and slither around different planets so it gains momentum to reach its designated target. A downside is that it could possibly take years for the destination to be reached. No one wants an interstellar situation to happen. With a Hohmann transfer, the spacecraft will do a single burn into an elliptical transfer orbit from one planet to another. In short, due to Earth and Mars' circular orbits, the transfer is possible and happens to be the most fuel-efficient way of doing so. A Hohmann transfer will take around 8 to 9 months. There are faster ways of reaching Mars, but this is perhaps the most economical. And of course, there's the landing. Mars' atmosphere is 100 times thinner than that of Earth, meaning an aid will be needed for the Starship to land. It's unknown what they will be using as an aid, but we should find out in the next couple of years. If the landing on Mars is successful, we could see a major turning point for humanity, as well as Musk's influence on the entire world. Subscribe to our channel and make sure to catch our next 2 videos. Thanks for watching.